Morty, listen here, Morty. We gotta do some kind of top 10 list, Morty. Ooh, what's up, guys? I'm MD Shady, and in today's video, we are doing a top 10 list of my favorite Rick and Morty Funko Pops. So, let's check it out. So, I've put together a list of my top 10 favorite Rick and Morty Pops. There's a ton of Rick and Morty Pops, and there's so many different variations of, let's say, characters like Morty as well as Rick. So it was kind of a tough list to make. They're all pretty great. I love Rick and Morty Pops. I don't actually collect them. I did have a couple, but I've since gotten rid of them. But there are some really cool ones. So let's get right into the top 10 list. And I do also have a pretty decently big list of honorable mentions before we get to that number 1 spot. So coming in at number 10 on my list, I have the Sentient Arm Morty. This pop's hilarious how he has the big, huge, jacked arm. I believe it is his left arm on the pop, which is really cool. I like this version of Morty. It's probably my favorite version of Morty. I feel like his pops are a little bit lackluster. I don't know why exactly, but there's just something about the Morty pops that just kind of turns me off from them. The Ricks, though, there's a lot of really good Ricks, but Morty, I do think that Sentient Arm one is probably the best that there is. Then coming in at number 9, I have the Previews exclusive glow-in-the-dark Pickle Rick limited to 25,000 pieces. This is really cool. It's essentially the same thing as the normal Pickle Rick, but it is glow-in-the-dark. I don't know exactly how good the glow is. It is green, so it's probably really good, but I feel like if you're going to get one of this version of Pickle Rick, you might as well just get the one with a limited piece count, though 25,000 is kind of a lot. And it's glow-in-the-dark. It doesn't really need to be glow-in-the-dark necessarily, but I do think that's a cool added bonus that comes with this pop. And I do like Pickle Rick in this form. I like just classic Pickle Rick without the rat body parts that he puts on, or like the laser that he holds in the one pop. I think that just keep it simple with this one. I really enjoy that, and I think it looks cool, and I mean, it's almost life-size, I guess, for Pickle Rick. Then coming in at number 8, I have a fan favorite character, that being Mr. Meeseeks. This is just the normal Mr. Meeseeks, where I think he has like his arm to the side like this, and he's smiling, he's nice and happy. I like this one. There are some really cool Mr. Meeseeks pops. Of course, you have the Kirkland Meeseeks, you have the chase for this pop that I'm talking about, which is where he has like the blaster in his hand, and he's kind of like angry. There is that one, and then there's also I think one where he does have the Meeseeks box in his hand. I think that's one as well. So the Meeseeks are really cool, but I do like just the classic normal one where he's happy. I think that one looks the best. Coming in at number 7, I have the GameStop exclusive Roy. This pop's really cool. The character was awesome. It was awesome to see this episode where they put on the VR headsets and it's all about Roy. It was such an emotional, cool episode. And the way to obtain this pop was really cool as well in the mystery boxes from GameStop. It was pretty hard to find the Roy pop as to terms of talking to people about it and hearing it on videos, but the Roy was really cool, and it's awesome that it was almost like a chase out of the set. You're either getting the Morty or you're getting the Rick, or you have a chance for one of those pops to be replaced with Roy. So most people had to buy, of course, like you have to buy at least 2 boxes to get all 3 pops, which is a super neat idea. Of course, you will be left with doubles, but at least you can get rid of those doubles in trades or sales to kind of get some of that money back. So this was a really cool kind of chase pop, and it's from a character that people definitely loved from that episode. Coming in at number 6, I have Rick, but more specifically the King of think might be the first sounds pop that we ever got. Of course, it's not lights and sounds, but it's just sounds. That's awesome. It's like this deluxe pop that's so cool from an episode that people loved from at least my experience. I thought the episode was hilarious. So it's really cool that you get all these things with a Rick and Morty pop. It's kind of the first time that we've seen a more deluxe Rick and Morty pop, and I think it's really great. And of course, with the sounds, that's awesome. The sounds might not be the prettiest, but it's still a really awesome idea. Coming in at number 5 on my list, probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite character from Rick and Morty, and that is Bird Person. I just love this character. I thought he was so awesome. I don't know why, but I thought he was sweet, of course, being a friend of Rick's. And I don't know, the pop is pretty cool. I would like to see more pops down the line of Bird Person, maybe one of more of like some kind of posing, because this one's a little bit basic with kind of just his hands down to the side, but you don't really need much more with Bird Person. So this one's great, and again, one of my favorite characters, so he had to be put on the list. Coming in at number 4 on the list, I have the Exoskeleton Snowball. This pop is cool. I really like this. Snowball pops are all really cool. I believe there's 3 of them. You have the regular one, you got the flocked one, and then you have the 6-inch with the exoskeleton. And I went with this one. I think it's really cool. Normally I would go with flocked, but there's a little bit more going on with this. It's a 6-inch pop, which makes sense because of the size of the exoskeleton suit that he wears. I believe Snowball's a male. I'm not actually too sure about that though. But this pop's really cool, and I think it would be cool if we would see more of Snowball in Rick and Morty so that we could get some more cool pops like this one. Coming in at number 3, I have a super fan favorite character from a lot of people, and that is Scary Terry. I went with the normal, like, first Scary Terry with this one. I think that one's really cool. Of course, he has the Freddy Krueger hand, the whole Freddy Krueger outfit, essentially, but this one's really cool. The neon one I also really like. Of course, they called it neon before we actually got to see blacklight pops from Funko. That one's really cool as well, but I did go with the normal one just because, I don't know, I kind of like to keep things nice and short and simple when it comes to Funko Pops. You don't really need to go overboard with them, and I think that this one is great. Then coming in at number 2, we have the only pop rides on this list, and that is of Rick's ship. This is just such a classic pop. This one's so cool. I've mentioned before on the channel that if you wanted one Funko Pop from Rick and Morty, this is kind of the one to go with right now until we maybe see stuff later on down the road. But this is kind of the one. I think that this kind of represents Rick and Morty here. You got his ship, you got Rick. It looks awesome. It's really cool. And DK actually bought this for his brother, so he kind of has it, but it's not actually his. It's such a sweet pop, and I really enjoy it. And now before we get on to number 1, I am going to list some of these honorable mentions. Like I said, there's so many different characters in Rick and Morty, and a top 10 list is hard to narrow it down. So I have, I think, 6 different pops here that I thought deserved to be mentioned because they're really cool characters as well as their pops turned out really well as well. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is the 2-pack of Buff Rick and Buff Summer. This is cool. I believe this is the most expensive Funko Pop from the Rick and Morty set, which makes sense. I mean, it's an exclusive and it's pretty cool. It's an interesting episode and everything, and it's a different version of Summer. There's not too many Summer Pops, so it's really cool to see Buff Rick with Buff Summer to a 2-pack. Then I knew I had to mention Mr. Poopy Butthole. He's got some really cool pops, but like I said, I kind of like the just normal versions. I don't really like too many obscure ones, though the, what is it, the Auctioneer, I think, Mr. Poopy Butthole, that one's pretty cool, but I do really enjoy just the normal Mr. Poopy Butthole. And then, of course, there's Squanchy. Squanchy has had a few different pops. The normal Squanchy, which is the one that I do like the most. There's the Squanchy with the rope, as well as the Berserker Squanchy, which is also really crazy, but I think Squanchy's normal look is just so hilarious, so I had to mention that one. Then we have the first ever Morty Pop where he is holding those seeds in his hand. I figured I had to mention this one because I believe it's the only Morty Pop where he has that like W, like squiggly mouth, and I really enjoy that on the pop. I wish it was kind of just more normal though. I don't think you necessarily need the seeds in his hand for the first Funko Pop, but I get what they're trying to do with it. They're trying to make it a little bit more exciting and like detail it to one specific episode. Then, of course, there's Doofus Rick, which is probably one of DK's favorite, if I had to guess. He loves Doofus Rick, and understandably, because Doofus Rick was hilarious, and it's a really cool version of Rick himself, or a version of Rick. And then the last pop that I'm going to talk about is from, I believe it's from my favorite con of all time, which was SummerCon 2017, and that is Tinkles with the Ghost in a Jar. This is a really cool pop. I believe this is on the more expensive side as well, and it's a super obscure character. It's almost like a Pop and Buddy because you have the ghost in the jar as well, and I figured it just needed to be mentioned. And then moving on to number 1, my favorite pop from the Rick and Morty set of Funko Pops so far, because I'm sure we will see more down the line. We haven't seen any in a while, but I'm sure we'll get there eventually. But coming in at number 1 was actually a surprise to me that this is my favorite Rick and Morty pop, and that is the 10-inch Rick with the laser. Just such a weird pop to put in my number 1 for something. I never would usually put a 10-inch pop on a top 10 list, but I think this one's really great, and it's something that I would actually collect. I'd be happy with having the 10-inch Rick in my collection and then not really having to fork up the money for more of this set, even though it's an awesome set. There's so many different versions of characters. It's a big set as well, which is really cool for collecting, but unfortunately, I don't have the space to start a collection like that in my Funko room, so I think just the 10-inch Rick with the portal gun would be perfect for my collection, and I think it's better than the Hot Topic exclusive one, which is the normal 4-inch size pop. there's something about the 10-inch one that just looks so much better in my opinion, and that's why it came in at number 1 on this list. So yeah, that's my list. And if you like this video, don't forget to smash the like button, leave a comment in the comment section down below, and let me know what is your favorite Rick and Morty pop. And don't forget to subscribe if you're new here. But anyways, guys, I'm out of here. Peace in, peace out.